Jonathan, Grandad, he done this for Daddy when Daddy was small. And look, I'll show you some now, look.
There is a well-trodden path from the distant hills of Wales to the port of Liverpool, a city steeped in history, watched over by its two magnificent cathedrals and the famous Liver buildings, that familiar landmark for returning travellers. This is the story of a young man who made that journey, a journey to a place within the city boundaries. Nestling among the streets and houses like a great fortress, dominating the skyline, is one of the world's most famous football grounds. Saturday morning, and on the lawns of Stanley Park, children take their soccer as seriously as their heroes as they battle for victory in the shadow of the great stadium. It's match day. Liverpool are playing at home, and soon the empty seats will be filled. There's expectation in the air. A unique spirit created by a family of fans, each knowing the passion, the pride and the privilege of being part of the most successful club in the history of British football. This is a place where legends are written and heroes are made. And this is the story of one of the greatest heroes of them all. Many have entered the arena and played the stage that is Anfield, but no one has broken more records, has given his people more to celebrate, nor has given them more to cheer than a man called Rush. September 1994, a new season for Liverpool, and 14 years after he first ran onto the Anfield turf, Ian Rush is still spearheading the attack. As club captain, he leads his team with the confidence and experience of a man who knows how to win. And as the club's record goal scorer, he leads, as he always has done, doing what he does best.
Well, I've got 5 brothers and 4 sisters, and also, my dad's brothers as well. They come in Flint, so they're from Flint as well. Come from a large family. There was 14 in that family as well. So, as you know, Flint was there was a rush everywhere.
My dad used to play football. 2 brothers played football. They went for trials. Got nowhere, but they went for trials. And my husband played football. And then all the lads, they all played football, and I didn't like it at all.
My dad used to play quite a lot of local football, but really, I think my mum's brothers as well, they also were very good footballers. But I think from what I really know is my older brothers, they're all very good playing for local teams and that.
Football seemed to be everything because my dad used to play football, and I can remember my older brothers playing for trophies that my dad had won at the time. They used to play in the field behind me nana's, and they used to play and lose his trophies, and eventually he didn't have any left. The trophies my dad won, and my eldest brother Francis, who's got a iron on his leg, every Sunday he guaranteed that it'd be broken, and my dad used to have to take it to the steelworks to get it welded.
I'm the youngest brother, and I've just got a younger sister, but I was always getting when they got new boots, they were handing down their old ones to myself.
Well, he wasn't well. Went to the doctors and he gave me medicine. And he was no better, so we come out to him. And he said, I'll come back later. And he come back later and he was no better, he was sweating. So he asked me, could I get some ice cubes from somebody who had a fridge? We never had a fridge then.
My mum ran across the road, so I think that one of the ladies was one of the few in Flint that had a fridge there, and she had to get some ice, and that's all I remember about it. Next thing, I was in hospital in an oxygen tent, and I was there for a few weeks.
He was there for about a month, but he got better. But he had meningitis. Before that, he was chubby. After that, he was lost a lot of weight.
Wherever I went, it was either Ian come with me or we don't go at all.
I used to follow him everywhere when I was in school, and every time he played football, I wanted to play with him, and he tried his best to get rid of me, but...
Being the 3-year gap, eventually he come and was playing with lads 3 years older than him, and it must have made him a better player when he eventually got into the primary school, which I think he broke into primary school about 2 years earlier than most people, because he was good and used to be playing with strong lads around him.
And they were always on the football team in school, all of them. Like I say, they only had one kit. And they used to come home, they used to be training, they used to come home with this kit, and it was all thick with sludge. We want these in the morning, we've got a match in the morning, Mum. We want these in the morning.
First thing I do remember is I think I was about 7 years old, and the school teacher had a school report, and wasn't very much about the school I was doing, but I played in the five-a-side competition when I was 7 for the school team, and Mr. Travis then, he was a teacher, he's the one, he said about 2 sentences on my schoolwork and about 10 on how good I played in the five-a-side. Guess how old I was then?
10.
How did you know?
I
You see it? 10. How many balls are there?
7.
7.
8.
8, and Dad's got 8 goals, didn't he?
You remember the picture now they took in the local paper, they won 8-2 I think it was, and he scored the 8, and it was like a 2-legged affair.
And we also beat him 6-4 at home, and I scored the 6 goals there. So I scored 14 in 2 games. So.
He had a photo with all the balls around him at the end when he scored the 8.
We played for the same representative team, Deeside Primary Schools. So that would have been age 9 or 10, I suppose. And it's difficult to say somebody that young could be a good player, but I think even from an early stage, you know, Ian was marked out to be something special in the footballing world.
That's when he played for Deeside Primary Schools.
Ian had always been a prolific scorer. If I can relate to the Deeside Primary Schools team, that was run by poor old Ron Bishop, who's sadly passed away now. If Ron was around now, he would have had tremendous pride and delight in Ian's achievements. But when Ian played for that squad, even in those days, Ian was scoring goals. 40, 50, 60 goals in a season was nothing.
Ron Bishop, he was Liverpool mad, and he always tried to get someone from Liverpool to come and do the presentation. Fortunately for me, you know, John Toshak came and presented me with the medal. I think no one could touch us in them days.
Well, the first time I heard Ian's name mentioned was from a director of Chester Football Club, Mr. Owen, who was involved in youth football up in Deeside. And he mentioned there was a young boy up there called Ian Rush, and he said, Cliff, would I go and have a look at him?
They come one night to see him, and he was in the youth club not far away. And I sent Stephen to go for him. When he brought him back, they were talking to him and asking would he like to go to Chester. He said yes, he went. He was going. And he went back to the youth club. And then when Cliff Sears was going out, he said, don't worry, Mum, put his hand on my shoulder. We look after him for you. I said, well, you better add.
Being a school teacher and being involved in the international squad, clearly to make home visits was extremely difficult, and in those days wasn't a thing that one did. But I've got to admit, I've got to make a confession that Ian's house was the only house that I've ever visited.
As the year wore on, you know, he always seemed to be quite happy there. He was getting better as a player and getting settled in at Chester Football Club, and in the end, we knew we had a chance with him. But I mean, he became such a good player from 14 to 15, the other clubs really fancied him.
Cliff's, he had us training with the first team, you know, when I was 14, and once I got into the Chester side, Alan Oakes came along and he took me under his wing, and he looked after me the year I played for Chester. He could have easily sold me to Manchester City, who he'd also played for, but he felt Liverpool was the right club for me.
I was used occasionally to go and watch promising players, one of whom happened to be the great Ian Rush.
They go out and see players and they assess them over maybe a number of games. And then at the end of it, they either say yes or no.
But then a comprehensive picture was built up about this young man, and Bob Paisley, who was a very astute judge of a player, liked what he saw.
Well, Ian joined us from Chester. I just found out now. I thought it was around about 80-81, but 79-80 season, and I was working with the first team. And he started off with the reserves, which Roy Evans was in charge of then, and we didn't get to see many of the reserve team games then because they were played Saturdays.
When I originally signed, I gave myself 2 years to get into Liverpool first team, and my first game was after about 7 months or something. Then it took me about a year really to get into the first team.
You take a chance with it, and I think it was 300,000 or thereabouts, that sort of figure. Of course, they weren't just to go straight into the first team. You could have them for 12 months more or less and develop them, and hope that if one of them turned out as a player, you'd saved yourself a lot of money. In the case with Ian, we obviously saved ourselves fortunes, really.
We played in a cup match at Aston Villa, and Rush came on as a substitute and made a tremendous contribution. And from that point on, the very astute manager that he was made the profound comment that if he can do it once, he can do it again.
And there's a good free kick taken, and Rush is in there! Pace played in this time for Rush on the turn.
The lovely story about Ian, of course, with Bob Paisley, he went into his office one day, Ian, and he said, which you can hear Ian talk now, I think I deserve a place in the first team.
He was complaining one day after he'd been with us a few months about not getting in the first team. And I think he went to see Bob, and Bob just said, well, if you go and score goals at the reserves, I'll get you in the first team.
And Bob, same thing, just sat there and said, well, you're not scoring goals. Score goals. He goes out, he's scoring goals. Next thing he's in the first team.
I said, well, I'll show you, that I can score goals. And I went up there, and next thing, David Johnson got injured. I got a chance, and I scored 2 goals against Leeds United. And from there, the rest is history.
The thing about a striker is that he knows instinctively what position to be in, to put the ball in the back of the... There's no way of teaching that. You can teach him other little things as regards how to approach the ball and so forth, but not when it comes to putting the ball in the back. I remember talking about the goals that Ian scored. I remember 3. I can remember 3. Now, that's not bad, is it? Out of 303. Right, the first one was on Aston Villa, playing Aston Villa.
But he scored a hat-trick once at Villa, and I think it might have been live on the television. Frostbound ground as well, no undersoil eating it.
Torville and Dean would have been proud to play on this pitch. It was icy, it wasn't good, at all.
And he scored 3 great goals. One was a cracking volley, the second one, cross from the right and volleyed it back into the far corner past Big Simsy.
It came a lovely centre, and he was standing there, poised, the real McCoy, and he hit it with his left foot on the volley, and it flashed in the back of the net.
They've taken great care in these conditions, and it's a question now that anyone can break down the respective back fours. Here's Neil coming forward. And Liverpool have got a player over here in this attack. This is Souness. And Nicol is the man coming in for the header. And Rush was on the far side. Oh, what a tremendous shot.
Now, these are goals that you can remember because they were so good.
And here's Ian Rush. Another chance for him. Williams couldn't get to him. Oh, and he's hovering again. There is Rush. Well, I say, the man just can't be stopped.
And that was a good hat-trick by him. But he scored that many goals. You know, he has even the little tap-ins. But you've got to have that in you. You can't just... People say, oh, it's only a tap-in. You've got to be there to tap it in.
Trying to get round his man, he did, and Rush, 2-0. Oh, and Robinson's in there, and Rush is in there, and in goes number 4.
He's got this little bit of a trait about him where you can't teach. You can encourage, but you can't... He's got these things about his game where he can do simple, and you can't teach those. And he's always had them. And they just started to explode when Bob Paisley had that talk with him. We'll go out and start scoring goals.
And what about that for a ball? Inviting Ian Rush to make a charge, to take it round Price, to play it for David Johnson. Stopped by Clements, but it's not away yet. Rush, 3-1.
It was a very cold day once, and my boots were rock hard. And I just threw them in the bath there. Then I went out. We played Luton Town. And I scored 5 goals and we won 6-0. So ever since that day then, superstition really is always to wet my boots before the game.
And the goalkeeper struggling, and finally put in by Rush. And again from Rush, that's beautifully done. And so is the finish.
The other one, Bill Bayo, he scored with his head. Now, Rushy doesn't score with his head, but this was again, no score, good game. And it was about 8 minutes from the end, and up he goes, and there he poises like, can I mention his name, Dixie Dean, Tommy Lawton. He's up and there's in them. These goals you can remember, and they were goals of quality. And the other one in the Roma Cup final, when I was in charge, and you come 1-1, and these penalties take over, don't they?
When it comes to a penalty shootout, I mean, it's just then who's going to hold the nerve the longest on taking penalties. Because I took penalties when I played, and I knew the tension involved with it. But I mean, I think in that one, I think Stevie Nicol took the first and missed.
The Neelys, the Souness, they were the players to take the penalties. But then you come back to who else?
I don't think we could get 5 players to take the penalties, so I think in the end, no, I volunteered, but reluctantly.
And Rushy decided to take one, always full of confidence.
We had to walk from the centre circle to the penalty spot, and that was the longest walk up I've ever had. But once I put the ball down, I just wanted to get on with it then, because I'm not really the best at penalty takers. If I could take penalties, I think I would have scored 100 more goals than what I have done. It seemed like 10 minutes before the referee blew his whistle for me to take it. Through one corner of my eye, I seen the goalkeeper dive to his right, and I just put it to his left.
The goalkeeper looked at him in disgust, and Rushy walked away as much to say, I always do that.
But after that, I was just so relieved when it scored that, you know, I put my hand on my ass just to see that it was still there and all. But it was frightening at the time, but it's so great relief when you do score.
Everybody knows the last one was Alan Kennedy, and Joe was manager at the time, and he's marching up to take it, and Joe said, oh, he can't take penalties. I said, he can, we practiced them yesterday. And off he went, and I said, if he scores this, we've won the cup. So he slots it in, and that was it.
Liverpool are European champions! What joy! Alan Kennedy's penalty goal leaves Rome distraught and Merseyside jubilant.
He scored all sorts of goals. Close in, far out, either way, left side, right side. There was no such thing as just being in one position all the time for Rushy.
Robinson touched down nicely into the path of Rush. Look at that pace again. And the shot, and the goal! this season, he's just this
this week signed a 4-year contract. Joe Fagan said just before the start, what a good bit of business that was.
Joe was a very good manager. I think people underestimated Joe. I remember one instance with Joe that stands out with me is that I'd been injured and I played the reserve team game in the midweek and I scored a goal. Then we were playing Everton on a Saturday and he wanted to get me fit, as soon as I could, but at the right time, and he knew I was ready to play a full game, even though I wasn't confident myself. But psychologically, he got at me. I think we lost that game 2-0, but I finished the game. And the midweek after that, we played Benfica and we beat them 3-1, and I scored the 3 goals.
Rush! He's back with a goal. Whelan shot diverted into the back of the net. He's there again. Ian Rush. Ronnie Whelan missed it. Rush! Yes, the hat-trick.
We used to see each other during the day, and he'd nod to me and I'd nod to him, and that was our total conversation during the day. Even to the point on a Saturday. We never said anything about it. He just went out and he played and he gave everything he'd got.
Joe didn't have long, but he'd done the treble in his first season. It was something no other manager has done. Then Kenny, someone again. No, we'd done a double in Kenny's first season.
Dalglish. And Rush. And that has put Stoke out of the FA Cup. Dalglish getting beyond Arnott. Still Dalglish. And Rush.
I just let me run, not thinking, knowing I was going to get a ball from Kenny Dalglish, and say 9 times out of 10 I'll get the ball, and the ball be at the back of the net. I think the game that stands out for me is the Everton when we beat them in the first game 3-1. It was the first ever Merseyside derby, to be played at Wembley, FA Cup final. Everything that seems to me in that game was rolled into one, and that's something that stand out, and I remember. And I keep looking back at the video, watching it now, and sometimes it's still hard to pinch yourself, that this did really happen. I think it was a FA Cup final when we beat Everton 3-1. We knew there was a lot of, I think, some from Barcelona and Juventus and a couple of other clubs, were there, but I didn't actually think they were watching me. But I actually played well in that game and scored a couple of goals, and then reading the papers, that the interest from foreign clubs.
There was a restriction on Italian clubs having more than 3 foreign players, and Juventus were looking ahead to what would happen when Platini moved on. I think he had about 2 years left on his contract, and they saw Ian as a natural replacement. And I found myself sort of locked away in a hotel in London's West End with Ian for 2 days with this very interesting group of Italian businessmen, including the Juventus president, and thankfully a fairly good interpreter.
I was in London for a few days with them, and they tried to get me to sign there and then, and there was no way was I going to do that. I think they were so keen on trying to get me. They wanted me, straight away, but I wanted time to think about the move.
It was, an amazing sort of situation. It was rather like sort of, Omar Khayyam unrolling his mat. Promises of, riches beyond belief, and it was a very, very interesting negotiation.
I decided that, Italy and Juventus was right for me, but I still had time. I had to speak to Tracy and I had to speak to my family to see, to make sure that the move was right for me.
There is an adage in life that says there's no gain without pain, and I think that Ian was weighing up the possible sacrifice of a year or 2 in Italy against what that could offer him and his family long term. That was really what it came down to, and when it was analysed, he felt that the risk was worth taking.
I wanted to go out with a bang, and I think I became a better all-round player that year, because I wanted to prove to everyone that I still wanted to do the business for Liverpool while I was still there.
Here goes Rush, and Ian Rush scores for Liverpool.
Given that Juventus were happy to let Liverpool keep Ian for another year, obviously Liverpool expected him to go on the pitch every week and give 100%, as he'd always done. I think it's a tremendous testimony to Ian that I think he scored, a total of 50 goals in club and cup matches in his last full playing season before Italy.
I think that's most probably the best season I've had for Liverpool. I didn't score as many goals. I think I scored about 38, 39 goals, where this couple of seasons before I scored 49. But I played in every game that season, and I wanted to go out and prove to Liverpool fans, that I was still playing for them.
Johnson got to it. Rush! In injury time, it's Rush. And Ian Rush has the record to share with Dixie Dean. Should there have been any doubt? 5 minutes left of his days in Merseyside derbies. It's 3-1 and Rush is signing off with a flourish. And Gary Ablett deceived, I think, a not fully fit Kevin Ratcliffe with a tremendous cross. Southall got a hand to it from Rush, but it wasn't enough.
I got married just before I went there, and it's most probably, you know, the best thing I've ever done, because if I'd been by myself, it would have, you know, been very difficult for me.
Well, we only decided to get married 13 weeks before, so it was a little bit hectic anyway. It was a beautiful day in July 1987. Well, I was really, really surprised by the amount of people that were watching.
Juventus were very, very keen for him to learn the language. They said that was essential, so he was enrolled with a language professor at Liverpool.
First 3 or 4 months, I think I struggled a bit. Tracy was a lot more luckier because she went to school, I think, for 4 or 5 weeks, you know, about 8 to 10 hours a day.
Tracy was a lot more diligent. She really made a concerted effort.
I made friends with Marcella Bruno, who was married to Pasquale, who was also a new player when Ian arrived. And she helped me a great deal with the language. Her 4-year-old daughter even helped me, actually. She used to correct me and say, "Tracy, you speak like a baby, you should come to school with me."
When I first arrived there, there was like 5,000 or 6,000 people at the airport, and that first indications of what to expect.
I travelled out with Ian Tracy when he was joining the club to head off to the pre-season training, and there was certainly a significant air of apprehension, you know, a little bit of sort of fear of the unknown, even though he was arriving there as very much the, you know, the new star on the scene.
When I went out there, the Juventus fans were absolutely brilliant with me. The pre-season, I'm scoring goals for fun, you know, and everyone was making me out to be, you know, the best player in Italy. And Maradona was there at the time, and, you know, they're comparing me with Maradona.
What was not understood widely in the United Kingdom was that Juventus had laid out about another 12, 16 million sterling, buying 7 other new players that close season. And I think it was a very, very tall order to expect Ian to fit into a side which was largely a wholly new team on the park, and there's no way you're going to put a team together and get out and win the Italian league with 7 or 8 new players.
There was 3 other players who cost more than myself, and because they were Italian, there seemed to be less pressure on them and more pressure on me. I didn't realise at the time, because I didn't know what pressure was at the time then. You know, people say at Liverpool was the pressure on you. I didn't even recognise there was any pressure, because I just got on with the game, the team were winning things, and it didn't bother us.
At that moment in his career, I think it was the right thing for him to go and try. He went over there, and I don't think he was unsuccessful. I think he went and learnt a lot more about the game, or different aspects of it.
I scored, I think it worked out 14 goals I scored in my first season in Italy. I think I scored 8 in the league, and that is, for the first season, you know, that is very good. I scored more than like Rudy Boller, you know, and people like that.
When Ian scored a goal, I didn't know sometimes whether it was me that scored or whether Ian had scored, because they started picking me up out of my seat, and these strange men were kissing me and hugging me, and but they just used to ignore me if you didn't score.
I think because of scoring so many goals, but then actually got injured in, I think, played Lecce, and I was out for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I think that made it difficult for me.
But it was a test of character for him, and at times I know the pressure got to him. I'd get phone calls back in the UK, you know, telling me that he was not the happiest of people.
Sometimes he'd come home from training, he'd be very quiet and withdrawn. He'd miss the banter from the dressing room and all the joking, and he was quite lonely, I think, really.
But he stuck to his task, you know, like a good pro, and he came through it.
The best thing I ever done, I think, both financially and also learn about football. I think when I came back from Italy, I was a much better all-round player.
We never dwell on anybody leaving. Once they've left, they've left. Thanks very much. You've done your job, you've done a good job. We don't want you to go, but they've made their mind up to go, and then he's the only one that's come back.
And he came back, certainly a player with more knowledge and different types of ability. And I wouldn't like to say he was entirely successful, but I don't think he certainly wasn't a failure. I think he was very unfortunate that the Juventus team he went to was on a bit of a downslope, really.
Then when we got him back, you know, it took him time to settle down again, and off he went again scoring the goals, because he was happy back here, and we were happy having him back, especially when the goals started going in again.
The peg was there, the same one. Well, it was actually a different one, but I think John Barnes was in mine, but he swapped straight over and he said, you can have this peg back now, and he got changed next to me.
Rush. Barnes.
I think when it comes to players like that, you have to, you know, you can coach midfield players, defenders, wingers to get your crosses in, but you can't really tell us a goal scorer where to get into, what position to get into. Himself, Gary Lineker, players like that, you just have to put them on the pitch, tell the other 10 what to do, and leave him to just get on with his job.
I used to support Everton as a boy, and I think Gordon Lee was the manager at Everton then when I was playing for Chester, and Chester played me in midfield, and I was excited now because I thought Everton were going to come in and try to buy me, and I most probably would have went to Everton if they came in for me. But I was very disappointed when Gordon Lee said they didn't think I was good enough to sign for Everton.
Well, if I remembered all his goals, I'd be here till I was 90.
I mean, his goal record against us was brilliant, but I think early on in his career, especially when I started playing for Everton against him, derby games, I think I was on the up over the first maybe 3 or 4 games. I kept him quiet, or well, not just me, but the team.
Comes on when he just first minute he always kicked me as usual.
But from then on, he seemed to break every record going.
Hansen in so fast and leads the charge. Rush to his left. Onside. Ian Rush. 1-0 Liverpool. Brilliant goal.
I'd left when he scored four on the trot. What a feat that was. But that was Ian. That was Ian Rush to a T.
Rush. Deflection. Has taken it in.
Kenny seems to have this great knack of dropping off the centre-backs and just swivelling on the ball and knocking it one touch into the channel or into a space, and Ian was onto it and finishing it.
Dalglish. Look at that. Rushes through. This could be history here for Ian Rush if he scores. He's at the post. He might score now. He has. And it's the first hat-trick in a Merseyside derby since 1935. King who slipped, and this is where Liverpool have made the game look so easy. They've come out of defence, got into their stride, and seem to get an extra man through. It's Ian Rush. Can he score his 4th? It looks as though he has. Yes. 5-0.
It does help when you play with good players like Kenny and Souness and Hansen and Lawrence, and you know, just off the top of your head, you're talking about a great side. But at the end of the day, you need somebody to finish it off, and he was the man who was finishing it off for them.
Played in there. Southall did well. Can Rush get in there? 1-0 to Liverpool. Ian Rush, the man who just can't stop scoring goals, has got the vital first one in this derby game.
It's his blistering pace and getting the wrong side of defenders. The right side for him, but the wrong side for us.
I think derby matches are special matches anyway, and Ian's a special player, and special players usually do well in special matches, and I think the bigger the game is, the better Ian performs.
You know, you thought you'd have him for like maybe 89 minutes of the game, and then, you know, they just put one ball through, he'd snap onto it and put the ball in the back of the net. Kenny seemed to know where Ian was, and Ian seemed to know where the goal was.
if you give Ian half a yard, he's going to score a goal.
He scored a few crucial goals, especially in cup finals, and oh, well done to him. I wish it was me though. You try and stop him from turning. You think you're going one way, you know, because he might have done that one on you before, and he goes the other way. It'll always get you thinking.
It's just a sad memory.
Rush! Goal! 3-2 Liverpool. Ian Rush gets his second. And this now becomes one of the most dramatic FA Cup finals of recent times. Beautiful ball by Barnes, deftest of headers by Rush, and Rush repeats his feat of 3 years ago.
There's always great friendship between Kevin and Ian. I think there was that North Wales affinity, even with the likes of Mark Hughes. I can include Mark in that. Whilst there's tremendous comradeship within the Welsh squad, I think you're always that little bit more comfortable with those people you've had round you for a period of time.
My first trip was Scotland away, and Ian was already in the side, and I think that was his first appearance for Wales as a sub against Scotland.
So Mike England told me to get warmed up, and I was warming up really, and I was just thinking I could go straight on the pitch, and Kevin was trying to shout and tell me to get warmed up properly.
Yeah, and I was saying, stretch your groins, stretch your hamstrings, look interested, you know. And
flicked on towards Rush, and at last Ian Rush has got his goal for Wales. The man who scored 30 times for Liverpool in his first full season celebrates what is his 7th international appearance with his first goal for Wales.
Wales have been lucky to have Ian in the side because he scored so many goals from, and it's a waste of time not giving him the ball where he's going to be the most dangerous, which is in the penalty area.
And it could be a chance for Wales, and it's in. It's a lovely goal scored by Ian Rush. The cross. Oh, what a good goal that was. What a marvellous goal scored by Ian Rush. Nicholas Rush. And it's in. Radcliffe. A long ball again. He's looking for Hughes. In favour, and there's a chance of a Welsh goal, and it's in. Surely.
He seems to have loads of time and seems to be able to do what he wants with the ball once he gets there. I mean, he's either driving it in or just a little touch or a little flick over the keeper.
She's onside. Maybe this is the third. It is. It is.
Well, a taste of the action as James plays it through towards Rush. The chip by Rush is going in. They can't stop it. And Ian Rush scores his 14th goal for Wales. Saunders looks for Rush. Rush is on the run. It's a chance. Rush beats Prudhomme. And Saunders is released. Will it hold up for him? Cuts it back towards Rush. And Ian Rush scores the second goal for Wales. And he becomes a record breaker.
One that stands out without doubt for the best of me is when Wales beat Germany 1-0 at Cardiff Arms Park, and I scored the winning goal. It was a long ball, came over, and managed to hold off the German defender and put it back in the net. And that was the first time Germany had been beaten on British soil since 1966. Well, they were the world champions then, so everyone celebrated that night, and for me that's always something that will stand out for me.
Even the ancient stone of Flint Castle shook that night, as the whole of Wales celebrated a famous victory and a goal worthy of the highest international accolade. But away from the cacophony of Cardiff Arms Park, away from the roar of Anfield Road, there is another ground where Ian loves to play. When the final whistle is blown and the travelling is done, like all family men, There's nothing Ian likes more than relaxing at home, playing with his children.
He's absolutely fantastic with the children. I mean, I don't tell him I said this, but he is a fantastic father. He really is. He really enjoys nothing better than playing with the kids. And it's only when he's away I do realise how much he does do with them. You know, and then they're saying to me, you don't play with us as much as Daddy does. When's Daddy coming home? So he really, really is marvellous with them.
Well, you got Jonathan, who's the oldest. He's very quiet, and he gets on with his job. He's sort of more like his mum, really. He's just a very, pleasant personality.
Jonathan's a lot more sensible and a lot quieter and shyer, whereas Daniel's the crazy one. He's the climber and the noisy one. And, mind you, Jonathan will be noisy when he wants to.
Daniel's completely different. Daniel is everywhere. You can't stop him, and even if you shout at him, he just laughs at you. And he's always fighting with Jonathan, and he's got to beat Jonathan. And Jonathan is one of them that just lets him get on with it, because he doesn't want to argue with him or anything. But they both got lovely personalities, but in different ways. I suppose Daniel's a bit like myself. He's a bit, rough and ready and all that, and but only because I think Jonathan looks after him so much that he gets away with all these things. We got the shirt made for them because Jonathan went to the game and he's seen the number 9 and with Rush on the back, and so he had to have one, really, and Jonathan has to have one, Daniel has to have one.
Wait, penalty! Penalty!
Ooh, it just crept in the corner.
You kick it with your left foot then? Yeah. Good lad.
It's a bit funny because if I took a penalty, it'd be my right foot, but if it was a moving ball, I'd prefer it to my left foot. I'm quite lucky because I'm good with both feet, but I think I'm the only one in the family that's left-handed. My mum always said that left-handers were lucky.
Thomas through the middle again. Michael Thomas. Rush. 2-0 Liverpool. So simple and vintage Ian Rush. And there's nobody that loves the Wembley scene better than Ian Rush.
I usually get about 7:30, usually depending on what time Jonathan or Daniel wake us up. Jonathan's now in school, so it's a mad dash usually. Ian's never been one really to eat breakfast, so it's just a quick cup of tea. Either I take Jonathan to school and he looks after Daniel, or vice versa. We've got like a little mini roundabout in our front garden, and he has to drive round that about 3 times while Daniel and I wave through the window. If we don't do that, we all get a telling off from Jonathan. So even if Ian and I go out, or even if I go out and Ian's in, we all have to do it. It's just, I don't really know how it started. I think Ian started it when Jonathan was about 2 years old, I think, and it's just something we just have to do. And then he'll have another quick cup of tea before he goes off to Liverpool. That's basically it, really.
Okay, Daddy's going to work now. Okay? See you later. Okay, kiss. Give us a kiss. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I most probably was one of the worst trainers. I just went about there and just going and just getting on with the job and wanted to get off home. But now I enjoy my training more because I think you have to train harder to keep up the fitness, to keep up with the younger ones. The Liverpool training is most probably the same for the last 30 years. But as you say, as you do get a bit older, I think you have to look after yourself more. And instead of, I've got to exercise properly, I think after every training session before we start going to a game, I always do a little bit extra by myself, know the exercises, for the simple reason that you don't want to get injured in training. I don't put on weight, so I think I'm quite lucky in that way. So what I've got to do, I've got to keep my leg muscles in shape.
As you can, keep going, come on, push again. Keep it going, keep going. 7 done, come on, all the way up, all the way down, keep going. 2 to go, come on. Keep going. Keep going halfway through now. Go on, push again. Keep going again. Keep it going. Push again. Keep going. Come on, push it in now. All the way up and down. Legs straight. Legs straight. Keep going. Keep going. 5 to do. 4 to do. Push again. All the way down. All the way up. Keep it going. Go on. 2 more. All the way down and rest. Right. The machine is an Acron isokinetic machine which is used as a form of weight-resisted exercise that maintains a resistance, a steady resistance throughout the range of movement. The benefits of the machine are full stop in terms of rehabilitation. It will act as a preventative measure, so you can put a player on to prevent injuries occurring by just testing the good leg or dominant leg and the bad leg and non-dominant leg, and that will show up any variable. So it'll either show a weakness possibly in his quads or his hamstrings that you can work on to prevent injuries. So for Ian, at his age, in this stage of his career, to be fit and to be out there playing week after week is obviously of the utmost importance. So if we can put him on here to show up any discrepancies in a particular muscle group, that will prevent possible injuries occurring, which means that he will be available for selection week after week, and obviously the club get value for money, and he gets hopefully another successful season at Liverpool Football Club.
I do get quite nervous for him. I always wish he'd score a goal early on, then I can sit back and relax a little bit then, and every time he falls down injured I do worry that it's something serious, but fortunately 95% of the time it's just something not to worry about.
When did you do this?
Saturday, after the game.
Right.
Saw on Sunday though.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is that why you came in for treatment?
Yeah.
Okay. First half or second half?
First half.
Right. And what actually happened?
Just in the tackle, like, and just got a knee.
Yeah, it's quite bruised on the side there. Just tighten your thigh muscles up without lifting the leg. Hold. Do you get anything there when you do that?
No.
Okay. Just tighten your leg up again and raise the leg now, 3 or 4 inches up. Anything there?
No.
Okay.
Just when I bend it backwards. So.
Just tighten again. Raise up against my hand.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit there. Okay, relax. Just bend your knee now as far as you can. And slowly down. Anything there when you did that?
When I went back, it just felt it.
Okay. Just relax. Tell me if you get any more as I push it up further. Okay. Straighten your leg right out there. Just tell me if you saw anywhere when I start to feel and prod down the side of your leg. Anything there?
Sort of.
Obviously you got a dead leg sustained on Saturday. What we're going to do is we're going to put some Megapulse on this just to try and get the thing to settle down, help with circulation and get your pain to a lesser degree, okay?
Yeah.
Just want to sit yourself up.
Okay.
And just lean back against the edge of the bed and just relax there.
This be twice a day?
Yes, twice a day, morning and afternoon.
That means I've got to come in early?
Yes, you're in for treatment at 8:30, as you know, that's you're on for 20 minutes.
Ian now looks fitter than he has done since I met him, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The way that the team is playing now means that he really has to work harder than he has done in the past, and he's up to the task.
You can't teach this. As I say, you can put little things in their minds, but he's got to be on. He's got to want to do it, and he's got to want to work.
Come on, raise your hand. Chris, keep up with the group. You're not going to throw delighted, man.
Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, they've all given me stick. Ronnie Moran's a prime example. As soon as everyone joins the club, he'll have a go at every player, and people say, "Oh, he doesn't like me," and that. But it's the complete opposite. If you overcome that, he makes you into a Liverpool player. If you cannot handle that, people move on, and they're not up to Liverpool standard. And he's a prime example. And I've seen over the years people come and Ronnie will have a right go at people. He had a go at me, whatever. But people say, why is he having a go at me? He's only trying to get him into Liverpool way and to get him settled down. And once he overcome that, he'll go on to someone else then. He's only doing the best for Liverpool Football Club, and that's what I think what makes him a great coach.
There's some people in the game think they can make players like Ian Rush, and they've got no chance. They can encourage him on certain aspects of the game, but he's got to have his own individual traits about him, which he has, and this is why he's been in the game so long and scored all these goals.
Ian has been scoring goals in a career that has spanned 3 decades. Decades that have borne witness to a phenomenal list of records and honours. He's the highest scorer of goals in all competition for Liverpool, has scored the most goals for them in Europe, and with 47 goals in 1983-84, has scored the most in any one season. To crown this, he has scored the most goals in Merseyside derby matches against Everton, and on a national level, he's the highest goal scorer for Wales. And of his 40 FA Cup goals, the 5 he has scored at Wembley has given him the record in cup finals. 5 League Championships, 4 League Cup, 3 FA Cup and 1 European Cup winners' medal. The list goes on and on and on. His is truly an historic and legendary achievement. No greater example could be set, no greater credential for leadership. And today, in his senior role, the passion and determination that he's always shown seems to grow stronger with each game he plays.
I see him playing now. God, he's playing well. To me, he's playing well because he's taken over the captaincy, and he's a good captain too.
I think it's a great privilege and a great honour to be captain, a club, such a big club like Liverpool.
He leads by example, that's it. In fact, in lots of cases, Liverpool's been like that, and he's learned it from us, of leading by example.
I think my job now is not just scoring goals, although being a striker still, that my main priority is to score goals, but at the moment as well, it's also to help younger ones come along and also help in the team play.
You can shout as much as you want from the touchline, but if people can have quiet words on the pitch when things are happening and take up good positions to allow younger players with inexperience to get in positions, and that's what he's doing.
I always like to think of him as our first line of defence. And people say, well, he's probably the world's greatest striker, or one of the world's greatest strikers. In Liverpool terms, he was always our first. When we lost that ball, Ian was our first defender. And he's still probably the best ever at defending from the front.
When you're getting into your early 30s, you really want an easy ride, you don't really want to work harder, but unfortunately for Ian, it's worked the opposite way. The way that we're playing now, unfortunately for him, means that he has to do more work, but he's up to it and he does it no problem.
At my age, I do look at the future. I've got another year at Liverpool to go, and I hope to get another contract with Liverpool. And I feel I've got a few years left in me as a player, And even when I've stopped playing, I would like to stay in football in some capacity. You know, I've been determined as a player, and I'd be determined if I was a manager or a coach. I'll never forget the memories, you know, scoring in front of the Cop, the old Cop, anywhere, people standing up and just making all them people happy. I'll never forget them. Never in my wildest dreams thinking I was going to be top scorer at Liverpool Football Club.
He scored goals against more or less everybody. This record's second to nobody's.
I've been fortunate. I've seen all his goals. They've been 3 inches out, they've been 30 yards out, but they all count as good.
He's one of the best finishers I've ever seen. There's no question about that.